What's happening, YouTube? It's your homie Akuma coming back to you with another video. And today's video pits a top 8 match from the Energon Invitational Qualifier in Glassboro, New Jersey at the comic book store. We have to the left Kevin Arnold, who got first place after Swiss with his Ionstorm, Triggerhappy, and Flamewar deck. His deck profile is up on my channel as well. If you haven't checked that out yet, definitely go check that out. Scott Landis' deck list is also up on his website, on Vector Sigma's website, so definitely check that out. And to your right, we have, of course, Scott Landis of Vector Sigma playing Ranged Shockwave. He features 2 ranged characters. You got Fireflight to the left, and then Red Alert. Red Alert is ranged in both modes in a car. So I don't think the car part is relevant in this matchup, but definitely something to note. And yeah, so the Energon qualifier, security checkpoint, see what he hits here. Wow, that's a big checkpoint. 3 for 1, or no, 3. I guess a 3 for 2 because Scott hit his own reflex circuits. But doing that on the very first turn when your opponent didn't get to play anything is definitely could be the most devastating. So as you can see, it left Kevin with just a single security checkpoint. So when Kevin plays a action or upgrade, one or the other for his first turn, Shockwave will just steal the other one. So he may not even activate anything just to. Okay, I think we missed one for tough, so we kind of just like flipped out of order there a little bit, but no big deal. But yeah, so you 31 players at this tournament. 31 players is, I think, the biggest to date that we've had for Energon qualifier over on the East Coast. Definitely as far as the ones I've attended so far. So definitely a big shout outs to the comic book store for hosting that tournament. And yeah, that ended up pretty well. So Kevin Arnold decided to not activate an action on upgrade for his turn. It wouldn't be wise to activate security checkpoint, as you can see Scott just used security checkpoint to take upgrades out of both of their hands. So he's getting rid of the, okay, so he had the UFO, so double security checkpoint, so it really didn't matter. So unfortunately, he still lost both of his cards. So what this does right now is it disallows Kevin to be able to get any green icon cards. So all of his greens that he flips, they'll unfortunately just go to the scrap pile. So I don't know if he's playing Reflex Circuits or, Smelt or Scoundrel's Blaster, but none of those cards will be able to get, unfortunately. But he does have Triggerhappy in bot mode, so when he flips Triggerhappy back to alt mode, he'll be able to retrieve and upgrade, a weapon, more importantly, from his scrap pile back to his hand. So that kind of counters Shockwave in a way, being able to constantly recur every other couple turns. Okay, so Kevin Arnold is also playing Escape Route as well. I forgot about that. So that's another card that he won't be able to get, unfortunately. Escape Route is nice to be able to flip-flop the Triggerhappy to get a weapon and then put him back in bot mode where he wants to be at, where he has 2 attack and Pierce 4. So if he can somehow reach, the 4 attack as well, he'll have that full 4 Pierce 4, the bigger they are type effect within his attack. Scott decides to use his Shockwave here, knowing that his Shockwave definitely will at minimum take 2 from the Triggerhappy this turn, which is fine. He managed to get at least 1 damage on the Flamewar, so in this blue versus blue matchup, it's definitely okay to send in your Shockwave earlier than usual. So Kevin Arnold definitely going to flip back Triggerhappy and get back Grenade Launcher this turn. He's going to play the Grenade Launcher and no action, so he's going to attack it to the Red Alert, try to get some sizable damage on the Red Alert. It's a pretty decent attack for a mixed deck. He has it's like mostly blue, but he still has some oranges in there to boot, and he gets a pretty big attack on on Red Alert there, 6 damage. Not bad. Shout out to WTC for encouraging mixed decks with this set, and it definitely came to be. So far on Wave 3, we've seen it's encouraged me to build mixed decks myself. It's something I think people always wanted to do, Wave 1 and Wave 2, but just never really saw fruition. Scott flips back Shockwave this turn, plays Scrounge. He knows what card's on top of his deck. Scrounge lets you play the top card of your deck. If it's an upgrade, you may equip it. He gets Reflex Circuits and decides that he wants to potentially equip it to one of his ranged characters. He decides to put it on Fireflight. So Reflex Circuits, what it does is it's a blue-green icon card, and it gets +1 defense. And if it happens to be battling against a melee character, it gets another defense. And Sturdy Armor is another of the rock, paper, scissors armors. So Sturdy Armor gives, you can only put on Specialist, and it gives the Specialist +1 defense. And when it attacks against, when it battles against a ranged character, defends rather, it gets another defense. So Sturdy Armor is definitely a lot better in this matchup, clearly because of Ionstorm and Triggerhappy both being ranged. Now, Ionstorm, of course, can just bounce back the Sturdy Armor, so it's not as good against Ionstorm, but All right, so we have Escape Route here. So Escape Route is really good here. So he flips to bot mode and then flips back to alt mode via the actions Escape Route. Gets a Laser Cutlass on his Flamewar, which is really nice. And he's going to get 3 guaranteed damage on that Fireflight. If Kevin happened to play any black icon cards, he could have potentially have 4 attack and 4 pierce to KO the Fireflight. But unfortunately, he doesn't. So I think when we looked at Kevin's deck list from the deck profile, he didn't play, I don't think he played any Arm Hovercraft. Oh, well, no, maybe he did. But Marksmanship, I know he only played one of because he said he only had one. But Marksmanship wouldn't be good here anyway. It only hits Shockwave every other turn when he's not flip-flopping out of, bot and alt mode like a pancake. Scott has some options here. So Shockwave, with his main thing, if you haven't, if you're new to playing Shockwave or seeing it in action, it's just like Sentinels. Just think of it as a blue Sentinels deck. It takes your hand like Sentinels does, and then it really just, it defends well because Shockwave is just a powerhouse in terms of his attack and defense and his health. So he just leaves you with not as many options, each turn. So like right now with Shockwave definitely being a part of the meta. Despite press the advantage hurting, he does have some tools to use like hiding spot or infiltrate to be able to play off top of your deck. He'll be able to do a lot better versus a press the advantage than Shockwave. Before I continue with that, though, it looked like we got a really cool turn going here. So we have Anticipation Engine on Fireflight. Since Scott can look at the top card of his deck at any time, he flipped an action, Marksmanship, off the top of his deck with the Fireflight effect and used it on Flamewar. Now, Scott sent in the Fireflight here, expecting it to die, most likely, I want to say, because I'm sure Ionstorm, if he flipped, or Triggerhappy for sure, with the Triggerhappy with 2 Pierce 4, which translates to pretty much 2 Pierce 2, will definitely kill the Fireflight. And Scott is very confident that Kevin is not going to top deck a Arm Hovercraft or anything to kill the Fireflight. So he's just sacrificing the Fireflight here. Which makes me think, was it necessary to sacrifice Fireflight there? Maybe it was. I don't know. Because if he wasn't going to draw direct damage, that means the Fireflight could have potentially, I think Scott does play the bigger they are. But he decided that was the best move there. But he got a very good, this reverse rollout and back. So UFO, unconventional flying object, what it does is flip a spaceship from alt mode to bot mode and back to alt mode, which will essentially just trigger the effect of the alt mode effect. So he'll be able to draw a card and make his opponent discard another card. Looks like Shockwave is setting up Red Alert next turn with the Energon Axe. And most likely actually be able to flip the Red Alert too. So right now Red Alert is 6 attack pierce, 6 pierce 2. If he flips it, it'll be 8 pierce 2, which seems ideal to be able to swing at whoever next turn. Shockwave is probably attacking into Flamewar. Or maybe not even Flamewar. No, yeah, probably Flamewar. We'll see. Yeah, 3 defense. Taking 4. Trading the Infiltrate for I missed it. But Infiltrate, of course, not really that good in this matchup. Kevin Arnold is playing a mixed deck, but I don't think any of his actions are orange, and you never really take the chance to set that. Especially because I don't think he's playing Treasure Hunt or Reckless Charge or anything like that. We're going to send Ionstorm in as Shockwave bounces upgrade and attack him for 7-8 damage. 8 Pierce 1. Of course, the Pierce 1 not really relevant here, but it will take 4, so Shockwave finally has some damage on him. Now, Scott has an interesting attack choice, I'd say, this next turn. Just looking at it before he does it, I'm going to assume maybe Flamewar. Flamewar has, 6 damage on it? 6 or 9 damage? If that's a 9, then, I guess Red Alert is kind of a wasted attack because Red Alert has a sizable amount of attack, but the Pierce will get the Flamewar out of there, thus helping to not spread the tough to his other characters anymore. So, Shockwave in bot mode, able to flip and draw a card and make his opponent scrap a card. Kevin scraps a security checkpoint, and Scott draws another card. As you can see, Scott has a whole bunch of cards in his hand, while his opponent's just pretty much top decking every turn. That's the power of Shockwave, and when you don't have a lot of options to be able to deal to Shockwave every turn, and while he's kind of just, you know, hitting you for that big 7-ish, you know, damage every turn, you know, is definitely can be devastating. When Shockwave is loaded up with both his gamma launchers too, he's definitely swinging for the fences. All while you're kind of top decking, looking for options to, you know, try to get rid of him. I will say though, Kevin's deck is holding up pretty well though. He has the effects on the board within his characters that are helping him to battle Shockwave, so it is helping. Potential side deck cards against Shockwave are definitely not potential. Side deck cards that are definitely good against Shockwave are 2 cards: System Reboot and Work Overtime. Those are the top 2 cards to be able to play against Shockwave. As you can see, Scott has like 3 to 5 cards in his hand. System Reboot would be really nice to ruin his plan of whatever future turn Scott's planning, and then we both draw 4 new cards. So then it'll take, and as you can see, Shockwave's also in alt mode, so it'll take another whole turn in order for 2 of Scott's turns in order to get back to bot mode to be able to trigger the flip and, you know, take more cards out of Arnold's hands. So if you know Shockwave is heavy in your area, or you got a good Shockwave player in your area, or whatever, definitely consider side decking those cards. System Reboot and Work Overtime. And yeah, like I said, Kevin's deck is holding up pretty well with those inborn effects. He really did he? I'm confused. Okay, no, yeah, he did. He played Escape Route and got back a Handheld Blaster? No way. Why would he get back Handheld Blaster? Now, that's a very interesting one. Huh. He got it back Handheld Blaster and didn't use it. I'm really confused. Okay, so Hiding Spot on Shockwave here, and then Flamewar's going to attack into the Red Alert. Now, if Kevin Arnold flips a Smoke Cloak here, then he'll definitely, okay, 4 Pierce 3, so the Red Alert will live. Oh, I apologize. He put Hiding Spot on the Red Alert to make him attack Shockwave. Okay. Really interested in why Kevin Arnold got back Handheld Blaster. Because, I mean, he does have, I mean, he plays like, you know, improvised shields and stuff like that, but it doesn't seem ideal to still get that back when most of your deck is, you know, heavy blue, but we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. There's currently no one single card that deals 4 damage besides Swarm, I guess. But you get to choose where the damage, how much damage goes on wherever anyway. But to kill the Red Alert, if Red Alert has 7 damage on it, I would say that it's in one shot stand, one shot fall range, but it is not. Now, one shot stand, one shot fall, and Armed Hovercraft is, you know, not far fetched. But I don't think Kevin Arnold's playing one shot stand. So. Okay, so we got an energy pack here. So Scott definitely didn't mind his Shockwave taking that 3 damage from that Laser Cutlass because he's going to gain 4 health with the energy pack. So the Shockwave definitely has 7 damage on it right now, but ideally 3 damage on it with the energy pack. Luckily for Kevin Arnold, though, he can just bounce that energy pack, though, with Ionstorm. So, but unfortunately, Ionstorm can't. Scott has Shockwave set up to where Ionstorm can only bounce 1. So he'll either get the extra defense, the 1 defense plus the extra defense from a, you know, blocking a ranged character, or he'll bounce the energy pack back and then still be able to block decently with the sturdy armor. So Triggerhappy flips back again, gets back that grenade launcher. It's like the 2nd or 3rd grenade launcher he's used this game, all because of Triggerhappy. Very good card. I haven't touched him at all this set, but probably should, because I like that card. I like any card that, you know, when you flip and recur whatever card, and definitely Triggerhappy is definitely powerful. Putting the grenade launcher on Ionstorm. Ionstorm is in the mode that he usually wants to be in to attack. With 11 attack, he will use the debilitating crystal effect to bounce the sturdy armor. So he has 11 defense, and Shockwave has 4 health, or 4 defense. 11. Oh, I said 11 defense. Jesus. 11 attack, and the Shockwave has 4 defense. So definitely taking a sizable amount of damage there. Ionstorm also only has 1 damage on it as well, so Red Alert will be able to get some damage in, but Ionstorm will definitely still be sitting pretty. Let's see if Scott, you're Shockwave now. Let's see if Scott decides to flip Red Alert this turn for the 8 attack Pierce 2, or just flip Shockwave and take a card out of Kevin's hand. Now, Kevin does have 3 cards in his hand, so it's probably not even ideal at this point to focus on Kevin's hand, but let's see what he decides here. Okay, he does decide to do it anyway. Not saying that if your opponent has 5 or more cards in hand, you shouldn't do it, but he could potentially have flipped Red Alert, but maybe the 8 attack with the Pierce 2 was still going to do the same amount of damage anyway and just most potentially only get the 2. Ionstorm does have 2 defense. Kevin could potentially, I guess you would assume that he's only going to flip 2 blues to have 4 defense. So, I mean, I guess Red Alert, if he was at 8 attack with the Pierce 2, he could get in 4 damage versus the 2 that he's only most likely going to do here with 6 Pierce 2 on the Red Alert. Plays the UFO, flip-flops the Shockwave like a pancake again, scraps another card out of Kevin's hand, and he scraps his handheld blaster that he got to his hand. I'm going to have to ask him next time I see him why he got that handheld blaster. Can't think of why he would get that, but it still bothers me. Kevin, what's up, man? Nah, it's all good. All right, so plays the energy pack, or excuse me, the sturdy armor back on Shockwave, and then Red Alert goes to attack and blocks for 4, and is going to take 2 no matter what. 6 attack, 2 pierce. But Ionstorm only has 3 damage on it, and Shockwave is kind of in danger mode right now. So with 13 damage on it, 13 damage with the 4 health, so 13 for has 8 health effectively still. But Triggerhappy can definitely get rid of at least 2 of that, so that'll be down to 6. So Shockwave not having his gamma launchers on him is really hurting Scott right now, to not hit for bigger numbers and having to put so many attacks into. I mean, in a blue versus blue matchup is inevitable anyway, but definitely having to put so many attacks only with a 7/6 attack Shockwave based off of what he's attacking with, a bot or alt mode is definitely unfortunate to not have KO'd bots earlier. I mean, Triggerhappy looks like he has no damage on him right now, and both of Scott's bots are just about KO'd. So Scott got some work here to do, so let's see how he can potentially pull this off. He has a lot of cards in his hand, so he does have a lot of options. I haven't seen him play Reclaim at all this game, though, but Reclaim would be a very good way and one of the most ideal ways to get a Gamma Launcher from your scrap pile back to the top of your deck. And because it's a Decepticon card, you can play from Shockwave's bot mode effect to just play it off the top of the deck. Make your opponent scrap a card, and then Shockwave will be at 9. And then Gamma Launcher says you can have 2 of these in the weapon slot. So if you can get another one on him, he'll have 11 attack. So that's an 11-17-2 tank. It's kind of cool. Well, spaceship. I guess he's not a tank. Oh, man, well, I was just talking about it. There's the Reclaim. And he does exactly what I was just talking about. Cool. I didn't watch this video before, I swear. I went and I walked away and watched another matchup, so I could be surprised by everything that happens in this matchup. But we didn't see one all game, so like ideally it seemed like he was bound to at least have 1 throughout the game. He plays 3 Reclaim in his deck, I'm sure. So, oh, okay, Metal Detector. Okay, so he's not even going to. So he plays the Metal Detector. He could have just played that off Shockwave's effect. He could have just played the Gamma Launch off Shockwave's effect. Okay. Because Red Alert's probably going to die this next turn. So, okay, we'll see what ends up happening. I'm interested to see how this pans out. Because I feel like the Metal Detector he could have just kept in his hand and just literally did the same thing by just playing it off of Shockwave's effect. But another big power of Shockwave, as you can see, seems like Kevin Arnold could not get. I mean, I guess he has been playing upgrades. He did play a Laser Cutlass that stayed for a while, and then the Grenade Launcher, ideally, not ideally, but the Grenade Launcher always falls off. But he is not loaded up with any type of armors or anything. He's just kind of naked out there. But the Triggerhappy keeps on recurring back any weapon. That is so good. He decides to flip back. Okay, so he flips the Triggerhappy to alt mode to grab back Drill Arms, flips back, plays the Drill Arms on Ionstorm, and he's going to Drill Arms. Oh, that's not Drill Arms. Okay, it looked like Drill Arms. He got Armed Hovercraft. That was a very strong Hovercraft effect or play right there. The power of 1, like I always keep saying lately. Red Alert had 9 damage on it, so killing the Red Alert and then being able to attack the Ionstorm, bounce the Sturdy Armor, and attack Shockwave for 9 attack. and then the Triggerhappy still has no damage on it. So looks like Scott might take an L this game. 19 damage, only has 2 health left. The energy pack brings him from 17 health to 21. And as you can see, 3 6s and a 1. 6 times 3 is 18, plus the 1 is 19. Literally only have 2 health, has 2 health left. Might as well go to game 2, looks like, because Triggerhappy has 2 Pierce, and the 2 Pierce just gets there no matter what. Unless Scott plays, or unless Scott had a point defense system, but 100% sure he's not playing that in his main deck. Sets of secret action. Now, see, this situation, something I want to talk about real quick. If you knew that your character literally dies, we're in top 8 right now, so time isn't really a factor. But in the Energon Invitational, if you get into top 32 or wherever, if you're in a situation where time could potentially be a factor, as you can see, these are both pretty much heavily defensive decks. Scott should have scooped right there if time was a factor. So if you have 50 minutes and you want to, because we're 20 minutes into this game already. So if we're 20 minutes into game 1, ideally, let's say all 3 games would take an hour. Obviously, you guys would go into time. And that wouldn't be good because that's a potential tie versus you potentially winning the match. So I think Scott knows that. I'm not saying that he doesn't know that, but this is just something to just talk about in general, that your character is literally going to die. There's no way around it. We can see that Shockwave is at 19 damage. The math says Triggerhappy is going to deal that Pierce 2 and definitely get a Shockwave. So you know the game is over. There's no reason to prolong it. There's no reason to, like in Yu-Gi-Oh, you would draw out games just to see more of your opponent's deck. But in this game, your opponent flips their entire deck within the first couple of turns anyway. You already know what they're playing if you really wanted to pay attention to what cards they were playing. So trying to get information about their deck or whatever doesn't really do anything in this game. Not right now anyway. But so yeah, I would definitely just scoop your cards up and get to the next game, save as much time as possible. And that goes for any matchup in general. If you know the game is over, there's no point. Why play? Why continue to keep playing? You might put yourself, now if it's an orange versus orange matchup, most of my matchups, if not all, the past 2 tournaments I've played, I've been done like in 30 minutes because I play fast already and my opponent plays pretty fast or whatever. So it doesn't really matter there. But in a blue versus blue matchup, especially like aerial bots or anything like that, if you see that you're not going to win the game, if your Superion, if the game is going to go, my Superion has only Pierce 3, that's as much as I'm going to do. Your Superion at most can only do 3. Well, if my Superion's at 31 and your Superion's at 24, clearly the one at 31 is going to die before the 24 one. So if that happens to be you, unfortunately, where your Superion is going to take Pierce 3 in the next 3 turns and die, you might as well just go to game 2 and save as much, because you're probably already going to go to time. So I mean, try to do what you can so time is not a factor in any of your your tournament experience. And there's the crushing blow. The Triggerhappy will attack for 3 Pierce 3. I was going to say, okay, I had to pause for a second because I'm sitting here waiting for Scott. I'm like, you know what? I had this issue with Scott. Okay, not necessarily, it wasn't an issue, but I had this thing with Scott where I looked at his dice when I played him round 4 of this tournament, and I'm like, his character has 3 6s on it and something, or maybe I just looked at it wrong. I don't know, but we both kind of were like, the energy pack threw it off because I'm looking at the dice and I know 3 times 6 is 18 plus the 1 is 19. So like I kept saying for like, well, I said it like 2 or 3 times that the Triggerhappy will definitely, kill the Shockwave, and the Shockwave had 22 damage on it and 21 was its threshold with the energy pack, and then like they're still like playing, and I'm like, hello. That's why I paused for a second. So I'm like, I know I ain't crazy. Can I not count? But Scott scoops up his card, so that's what it was. Okay. Scott, stop messing with me, man. I thought I was crazy and I couldn't count. All right, so we're going to game 2 here. Kevin Arnold won game 1, and he has to decide if he wants to side deck a character or not. And then, of course, they both side their battle cards at the same time or whatever. But so Kevin decides to actually side deck in the character. He takes out Flamewar for Skydive. So that's interesting. So Skydive, I think, has more survivability than Flamewar. He should survive more often than not against Flamewar with that Inborn Tough 2. So, and Scott actually decides to go too tall here, and he trades his Fireflight and Red Alert for General Optimus. And he's also able to still keep his range cards like Marksmanship and Armed Hovercraft and all those other cards. So, very cool. Now, I'm side decking General Optimus as well in mine, but I don't have the range package because I'm playing Dinobot Swoop still and Flamewar. But I'm still playing it just because it's just a big body in general. And, you know, I side deck into, like, you know, I think another Energon Axe or 2 Energon Axes or something like that to be able to get on Optimus so he can have a decent attack when he's swinging. So we'll see how this goes. Turn sequencing seems kind of weird with this lineup, though, because you'll have to... I guess you send Shockwave in first, and then he'll have the Inborn Tough 1. So we'll see how this ends up going. Starting up game 2, I'm assuming Scott's going to start. You can kind of count Skydive out of dealing any damage outside of the bigger they are or Laser Cutlass for this game 2. Alright. Gets a decent chunk of damage on Triggerhappy. Attacks for 7 into Triggerhappy's 4 defense. Triggerhappy has 3 damage on it now. Kevin decides to get Escape Route. Draws for turn. Alright, so flips Triggerhappy for turn and puts a grenade launcher on a Skydive. You don't see that every day. And wow. 7-9. Attacks for 9 into Shockwave. And Scott deals, or he defends pretty well, though. But he does take 3 damage. You don't see that from a Skydive every day, though. Almost a bigger they are attack, pretty much. Checks top card of his deck, as he's able to do. Scott seems to have a better, or not a better hand necessarily, but a good hand in this game. He has a W5 Gyro Blaster. It was like Security Checkpoint. And then he played Gamma Launcher and makes Kevin scrap a card. Then Security Checkpoint. Now, oh wow. Okay, so he got rid of his Sturdy Armor. He tried to get rid of more cards out of his hand. I feel like maybe he should have played the Security Checkpoint first. Because then Kevin would have got rid of whatever upgrades he had, then had to definitely get rid of an action whenever, you know, Kevin revealed his hand. Or, excuse me, whenever he would decide what to scrap. But gets rid of a new designs after flipping a Shockwave. He still does leave him with 1 card, though, so definitely very strong turn. And attacking with Shockwave with 8 into the Skydive. And Skydive blocks all of that. Wow. Skydive is putting in work, I'd say. My next list, I think, because I do like the fact that, like, how Scott's deck, he can flip Shockwave on turn 1 immediately instead of having to flip Flamewar. I might trade Flamewar out for Skydive myself because, you know, then I'll be able to do that same thing. But I like to focus more on the specialist side of things. As you can see, Scott didn't play not 1 field communicator the entire game. I think he plays 1 or 2. I'm not sure. I'm not 100%. But he only plays 1 specialist character, and he prioritizes putting the, you know, energy pack and stuff like that on him. So my deck still has, you know, the 3 field communicators, etc. But all right, so we have Triggerhappy here getting the grenade launcher back and then Pep Talk. So this is definitely countering Scott's plan. Oh, I guess Pep Talk, you wouldn't side deck Pep Talk, but Pep Talk kind of soft counters Shockwave as well, being able to draw 2 cards. Pep Talk is a +1, so it is nice. We got Triggerhappy attacking General Optimus. Optimus does not give himself the tough. Excuse me, Ionstorm attacking General Optimus, and then also Triggerhappy attacking into Optimus as well, getting a decent amount of damage on it. No green cards being traded here, and then the grenade launcher scraps, and it's back to Scott. Everybody stands. Since all characters were tapped, now all characters must stand. Kevin Arnold got to attack twice because both of Scott's characters were tapped. For any new players watching this, so because both of Scott's characters were tapped, Kevin has to attack with all of his characters, so that all characters are tapped. Then we all just untap afterwards, and then pass back to Scott. Flips Optimus this turn, so Optimus gives himself Bold 1, Tough 1, and Focus 1, so he can look at the top card of his deck at any time and scrap it, or excuse me, when he battles, and scrap it if he would like to. So it'll be interesting here, see how this works out. Oh wow, very cool play. Metal Detector. I think he saw the top card of his deck anyway from Shockwave, but Metal Detector flipping the Arm Hovercraft off top of his deck and then using it to deal 3 damage to 1 damage to each character. And he's attacking for 7 pierce 1. That point defense system we were talking about, he definitely looks like he side decked that in. That'll be a very good card to play against Kevin's deck. Kinda, sort of, because you know what? Kevin kind of has some kind of beefy attacks with his grenade launchers and Ionstorm with the base 7. But it will help against, like, Skydive. It will help against Triggerhappy when he doesn't have anything and he's just attacking with, you know, the 2 Pierce 4. Well, I take that back. It'll still just be 2 Pierce 2, but... Alright, so Bombing Run, a card we don't see very often, but it is I guess you can call it a spell, burn action. Move 1 damage from each of your planes onto an enemy. So he only had damage on the Triggerhappy. We're going to play Field Communicator. Unfortunately, hit a Improvised Shield. But actually, Improvised Shield is interesting. I've been seeing people doing this lately, playing Improvised Shield in their heavy blue deck. And remember, Improvised Shield gives Tough 1. So this is actually a lot better to equip than Handheld Blaster in this deck because you still play mostly blue, you know, more than anything else. So Skydive's going to attack the General Optimus, but with that tough 1 built in and 2 defense, definitely not going to deal any damage to Shockwave, or excuse me, to Optimus this turn. Shockwave still sitting pretty healthy. Scott is going to have to try to get some damage on Skydive this turn, though. This is a semi-crucial turn. If he goes another turn without really dealing any damage to the Skydive, using all these turns to kind of like control Kevin's hand but not dealing any damage to the characters is gonna just, you know, not be good for him. So he definitely needs to get some type of damage, a good chunk of damage on Skydive this turn. So let's see if he has another Gamma Launcher. Gamma Launcher seems like it'd be very good here. I feel like if he had it, he would have played it immediately though, because Kevin only had 1 card in hand, so it would have been like, you know, a no-brainer. But so we have Shockwave attacking with 8 attacking to Skydive here. Skydive's gonna flip for his tough. And looks like 2, 4, 6, 7 might take 1. Yeah, that's something, but definitely had to try to, you know, get some damage to kind of press the game this turn. Because if you look at Scott's characters, once again, he has a lot more damage on his characters than Kevin does. Might have to look into this team. I like that. You know, that obligatory Flamewar, a 7 dropping in your big guy. You know, from the good old Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend days. So, and like, you know, General Megatron, aimless Flame Wars or things. So anything with a 7, a Flame War, and then a big guy. I like this team up a lot. You know, I definitely would play like 3 Arm Hovercraft, Marksmanships, all that good stuff. So might have to look into this. I like this deck. I like both decks. Both decks are very good. Got another Bombing Run here, moving some more damage off of Triggerhappy onto Optimus. Seems very strong. Arm Hovercraft dealing some more damage. I'm liking this deck even more and more. I love direct damage. I think range is probably my favorite type in the game, as is Scott's, I'm sure. And we got Triggerhappy going in alt mode though, so no Pierce here. So not gonna deal any damage to the Optimus, I don't think. Scott looking through his scrap pile. Flipping a couple cards. And Metal Detector, I got to really zero in on Metal Detector for a second. Scott bringing it out to the forefront, playing it with Shockwave. I feel like that card's still not good in almost any other deck. Well, I'm going to say good, but like the fact that Shockwave is able to use it the best. I'll say it that way. Being able to look at the top card of your deck at any time and then playing it is very cool. Scrounge is also a very cool card. I've seen them play, and I saw a couple other players actually playing, well, another player playing as well. So that's a very good call. So definitely cards I might have to look into myself. Cards I never thought would be good. I guess got to really look at, sometimes cards aren't good as a whole, but with one certain character, it's like, oh, this card is great. So like Scrounge and Metal Detector come into play very nice. With Shockwave, because you're able to look at the top card of your deck at any time. So all right. Shockwave takes damage, and that Prime looks like he has one more health. He also can wear a energy pack as well, so he could potentially put the energy pack on Optimus. Gonna play Field Communicator, play UFO, make Kevin scrap card out his hand. Triggerhappy gets a chance to flip-flop and get back to alt mode again and grab another arm hovercraft. That's going to be very good for Kevin to be able to kill off the Optimus Prime then without having to attack it. So we're going to send Shockwave with 10 attack. Into Triggerhappy, looks like. Triggerhappy has a tough one. But Triggerhappy happens to live, though. Wow. Looks like he's living by one, so if Scott doesn't find direct damage, Kevin Arnold could potentially send in another character this turn. So Triggerhappy will be able to flip back the next turn, you know, and live in to be able to grab a burn card. Sending Skydive in pretty much for no damage unless he, oh, okay, never mind. He flips the Smoke Cloak. So we got 4 attack, Pierce 1 going into the Shockwave, dealing 5 damage. So Scott needs direct damage here this turn to get rid of the Triggerhappy. If he doesn't, then Triggerhappy will be able to flip back next turn and get another. Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't matter now. But yeah, the Triggerhappy would have been able to get another armed hovercraft if he did have it in the scrap pile to get rid of the Optimus. But marksmanship comes through, kills a character in bot mode. If you control a ranged character, which he does, the Optimus in bot mode, to get rid of the Triggerhappy. And that also effectively steals an attack from him as well. But what's unfortunate about the situation is if you look over at, well, actually, no, both characters, both Skydive and Ionstorm have no damage on them. Optimus is almost dead, and Shockwave has 5 damage on it. So, in terms of health, Scott is unfortunately behind. So, he has a lot of work to do. So, let's see how he ends up deciding to come out of this, or if he can come out of this. Flip Shockwave back, takes... Kevin's used to it at this point. He's like, yep, no hand, that's fine. But you know what? He did lose Triggerhappy though, so he doesn't have a way to recur and get back another card to counter, kind of soft counter the Shockwave right now. So this could potentially be Scott's comeback. Skydive did have 1 damage on it, but remember, Bombing Run moved 1 damage from his character onto the Optimus earlier. So Bombing Run is like an effective reverse arm hovercraft in a sense, but to one character. So if Scott were to arm hovercraft, when he did arm hovercraft, I don't remember if he did it before or excuse me after Kevin used Bombing Run, but like if you have 1 damage on each of your planes, you take 1 off of each of them and put 3 damage onto one of their characters. That's a lot of damage. That's a bolt of lightning, you know, with a blue card. So Bombing Run is definitely getting stronger and stronger as we get more planes. So, okay, Optimus has 8 attack and 2 pierce, 8 attack and 3 pierce actually with the point defense system, going to the Skydive. Skydive actually blocks pretty weak here anyway, though. So, 9 attack. I apologize. 10 attack. I really can't count. Don't mind me. So, he almost kills the Skydive here. So, that puts Scott in a more decent position. That was a very good attack by Scott. With the 9 pierce 3. Trades reflex circuits. Don't really need armors as much in this matchup, especially with Ionstorm bouncing them anyway. And gets back a... I forgot what he got back, but yeah. I missed it. Kevin draws for turn. Ionstorm still looking pretty though. Able to bounce back whatever upgrade he would like here. Probably ideal to just attack and get rid of Optimus this turn. Almost guaranteed that he'll kill Optimus this turn. Well, I won't say almost guaranteed. Optimus could flip into 7 defense with Ionstorm 7 attack. So again, Kevin not able to recur back weapons anymore right now, but he will use drill arms to get rid of an armor. He will just get rid of the armor for good off of sturdy, or off of sturdy armor for good off of Shockwave. And he will use Ionstorm, and he actually, okay, he's attacking in bot mode, so, or in alt mode rather. So in alt mode, he does not bounce and upgrade. And keep in mind, Ionstorm's effect is mandatory as well, so you have to bounce back and upgrade off of your opponent. So like if you forget, but then like your opponent reminds you, hey, you have to bounce by my upgrade. So like let's say they only had like a field communicator on their character, and Ionstorm attacks in bot mode to that character, they get to bounce back that field communicator back to their hand, which actually helps that person, you know, with the field communicator, because they can play it again and you know, flip whatever off top of their deck. All right, so Shockwave is sitting at 10 attack here with 5 health. So the Shockwave or the Skydive's definitely not going to be doing any damage unless Kevin tops the bigger they are. So Shockwave can potentially just go into Ionstorm and start trying to get damage in on it. But unfortunately, it's going to take a couple of turns for Shockwave to KO that Ionstorm. So we'll see what ends up happening here. Scott actually gets rid of the Gamma Launcher for a Energon Axe and Energon Axe, going up to 11 Pierce 2. So effectively still pretty much the same 11 that he had with what he would have with both Gamma Launchers, and guaranteed damage. So 11 Pierce 2 into the, I'm going to assume he's attacking Ionstorm. Yeah, he only flipped 4 cards, so because Shockwave or Skydive has a tough 2 then. Get some decent damage on Ionstorm, but he still has some work to do. Ooh, Marksmanship, that was a good top deck. So put some more damage on Shockwave, flip Ionstorm into his most dangerous mode, being able to attack and bounce and upgrade. He's going to bounce the sturdy armor, and that's going to really put a hurting on Shockwave, because he's going to be able to get that solid damage in. Ionstorm's attacking for 8, putting Shockwave at 10. Skydive's going to attack, and oh wow, okay. Is that how you feel, Skydive? 8. Skydive is attacking for 8. You don't see that often. You can't calculate and anticipate that at all. I don't even think Kevin knew that was going to happen. But hey, that's how he constructed his deck, you know, with those double oranges and stuff. He's flipping them when he needs to, and it works out. So me, I always flip Peace to Tyranny and Improvise Shield on defense, you know. I love it. If you hear my bottle, it's my pre-workout. I'm recording this before I go to the gym. I'm about to go crush legs. Guys, pray for me, because normally after leg day I'm miserable, because I like destroy legs. Alright, so we have Scott here with 11 attack, Pierce 2, and a Shockwave, but with only 3 health left. So he really needs an energy pack if he wants to stand a chance to even live on his next turn. But, oh, you know what? I take that back. The energy pack won't do a lot either, because Ionstorm just keeps bouncing him back. So it really won't matter here, unfortunately. So very tough position to be in right now. Kevin Arnold does get 2 attacks every turn, but the first attack, the Skydive attack, usually I said Skydive attack doesn't matter, and then he swings for 8, you know, last turn. But so I guess you can't count Skydive out. And plus, Kevin does play Pierce cards in his deck too, so if he flips a Smoke Cloak or whatever else he plays, I think it's just Smoke Cloak, but you know, hey, that's still Pierce 1. Scott checks top card of his deck again. He's going to play Scrounge. So I guess, I'm assuming Scrounge says scrap the top card of your deck. If it's an upgrade, you may play it, so he can just scrap it, just get rid of it, see what another card is. If it was potentially a Decepticon upgrade, because he already plays action for the turn, so if it was like a reclaim, he wouldn't be able to play it because he already played his action for the turn. Yep, but Scott plays the energy pack. He has the energy pack, but he knows that Ionstorm's just going to bounce it, unfortunately. And oh, if he were to play an energy pack, he would have to get rid of his field communicator, and I think Kevin just reminded him of that because they're 2 utilities. So he goes Shockwave into Ionstorm. Ionstorm blocks for a decent bit, but he's definitely not going to die. I think it only has 6 damage on it, and even with 11 attack, you know, not playing an orange deck is just not going to be able to get there, unfortunately. And as you can see, this turn looks like it's going to end up being over. Skydive actually gets to heal in that mode. When he attacks, you heal 1 damage from a auto or area bot. So attack it with 8, and there's the handshake, and that's going to do it. All right, guys, so a quick post-match analysis. We can talk about, you know, how Shockwave clearly is a powerhouse in terms of controlling the hand, and then it can still hit for a pretty sizable attack. Scott's plan there, unfortunately, didn't come to fruition in terms of getting Shockwave to be fully loaded in terms of armors, weapons, and utilities to be able to try to take out Kevin's characters quicker. It would have been ideal for Shockwave to have the 2 gamma launchers on him as quick as possible to be able to deal that 11 damage, you know, towards his characters, like I said, to not have to put so many attacks into his characters. And then, of course, we have the Ionstorm, Triggerhappy, Flamewar deck, Kevin Arnold's deck, being able to recur weapons with the Triggerhappy every so often. And then you have Ionstorm with his built-in effect to be able to just get rid of Shockwave's, you know, defenses, and then just tear him apart little by little until he got the victory. And then you also had the direct damage as well. The bombing runs helped a lot. Being able to move the damage off of Triggerhappy to put onto Optimus made Optimus die a lot faster. Overall, 2 very solid decks, 2 very great players going head to head. You can always, you know, count on seeing Scott in the top cut playing something interesting. And then we got Kevin Arnold here. I think he plays a lot with Wrecking Rule. Shout out to Wrecking Rule. Shout out to Kevin Arnold for getting first place at, you know, the at this qualifier event. As for myself, I started very good. I think I started I started 1-0, and then round 2 I played against the Secret Sentinel guy, Carl. Shout out to Carl. And game 3, long story short, I drew 2 for B with you know, Lieutenant B, and drew 2 improvised shields and didn't kill the character that I needed to kill. I didn't account for the question, how many double blues or how many double oranges are left in your deck type thing. And I think I had like 7 cards left in my deck, and it wasn't necessary for me to draw 2 cards, and it was just such a reflex that, you know, I just drew the 2 cards and I paid for it. I drew, like I said, I drew 2 improvised shields, which would have gave me 10 attack on the B, killing his character that it should have killed, but I didn't kill it, which ended up making me lose. And then, like, the rest of my day just snowballed, so I didn't even end up top 8ing. So, but it's whatever, it's all good. Things happen. But yeah, so back to them. Like I said, 2 very good players going head to head, 2 very good decks. I have top 4 and I have top 2 coming up very soon. I will post the top 4 match, which is Bacon Ice Cream Productions, Eric Goodhart playing Blaster. We also had a deck profile on that versus Wrecking Rules Joe. Don't know how to say your last name. I'm not going to butcher it. Joe B playing his anticipation cards. They have a couple of games of that, his deck, on their channel as well. So definitely check that out. Very crazy deck. Very cool deck. Does some cool things. More than the normal card deck does, I'd say. And yeah, so those 2 go on head to head, and then the finals as well. And yeah, I'll be posting that Friday, so be expecting that soon, and more content coming from me soon. All right, guys, I'm stop talking and get up out of here. You guys know, as usual, you guys have a great day or a great night whenever you're catching this video. This is S. Akuma heading out. Peace.